Hello people, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, a special welcome to you. I ask that you check out the rest of my videos. If you like what you see, give them a thumbs up, leave a comment, but more than anything, I'm asking that you subscribe to the channel. Today's subject is actually of a question. Have I ever been racially profiled or mistreated for my color? I believe asking such a question is like asking a black person, have you ever heard of Africa? What I mean by that is, I believe that almost every black person on the face of the earth that lives in a multi-racial society or have traveled to a multiracial society have experienced some form of racial profiling. But I've decided to take on this subject because the question was asked of me, obviously because of the temperature around the world. So I'm going to answer the question by saying yes, and I'm going to give you some examples of racial profiling or racial mistreatment that I've personally experienced. But one of the main reasons why I was delighted in covering this particular subject is to point out the fact that racial profiling towards black people isn't always from white people. And I'm going to give you a few examples of those. And another thing, racial profiling in some cases isn't necessarily the hovering type of racial profiling. In a supermarket or a store, for example, I've seen hundreds of those videos where a black person might go into a store and they might get approached more than regular. May I help you, sir? Can I help you, ma'am? Are you looking for something in particular? It's kind of just breathing down their neck. And in other cases, you can see where different employees are hovering from a distance and making sure that they don't steal anything. And, you know, including myself, I've been in stores when I was much younger where the workers on the floor just happens to be in every aisle that I go into. So considering that I was born and raised in Jamaica before I went to the United States of America, racial profiling was absent from my mind. I had no awareness of racial profiling before I actually left Jamaica. However, while living in Jamaica, Jamaica has what we would call strong classism. So you do have a sense of prejudice while living in Jamaica, but the only difference is 9 times out of 10 the people who are prejudiced against you one class to the next, they're of the same color. So racial profiling, even though it has some similarity with the behavior of classism, the people who practice classism, they have some similar practices, but they're extremely different. When I went to the United States of America, racial profiling, I mean, how should I put it? The United States of America was a rude awakening to me. I mean, before I went to the United States of America, the only thing I know about racial divide and racism was the movie Roots. That was pretty much all I knew. My mom made sure that we all sat down and watched the movie Roots. And like most black people, even though I was a child then, after watching the movie Roots, I was mad. You know, I was angry to know that people were treated that way. Anyway, here's my first experience of racial profiling. My first experience of racial profiling was in Philadelphia. I was about 17 or 18 years old at the time, and I was answering an ad in the paper which required me to go down to a advertising agent on Market Street in Philadelphia. And when I went into the office, the secretary, if you want to call her that, the person who was taking the appointments, she was white, and she asked if I was lost. And I told her, no, I'm here for the advert, because it was one of those advertising agency and they wanted young people such as myself. They didn't say black or white. They just say between the ages of 18 and 21, I believe. So I showed up because I was between 17 and 21. She asked me if I was lost. I says, no, I'm here because of the ad I saw in the paper. And she called her supervisor and She pretty much said I didn't fit the profile, and I didn't know if that was racial profiling at the time, but it was only only after I saw the advert that I realized that I was racially profiled, because the advert was of a teenager, but the advert was of a white person. So I realized that I was racially profiled then. My second experience of being racially profiled, well, it was a little more offensive one. It also occurred in Philadelphia. It was less funny and more serious. I was about 18 at the time. I was doing an apprenticeship at a bakery in Philadelphia, and I was running after leaving work. I was running to catch the train, and I think while I was running, a nickel fell out of my pocket or something, because when I got to the train station and I was ready to buy my token, I was 5 cents short. And the woman that was in the booth, I told her I'm 5 cents short, and she went off and she was saying that you people always want things free and I'm not letting you on. And we got into like an argument, and a scepter cop, you know, thank God for that scepter cop, he was black, and he approached us, and I told him that I'm short 5 cents, and he gave me the 5 cents, and I bought the token and I went on the train. Yeah, that one stayed with me, and it offended me because I was bundled as being black. You know, I mean, I'm black and I'm proud to be black, but I was bundled as a group of people, of like a nation of people, black people, like we don't want to pay our fare and we wanted to get on the train. I mean, that's how she made me felt. And I felt really bad because I genuinely, honestly had the money for my ticket, for my token, and that's how that went. I mean, as a footnote, let me say, I migrated to Black America. I grew up in Black America. I grew up in Southwest and West Philadelphia, where 99% of the residents were black people. I went to school with white people. There was a dotted few white people in school. And when I went to college, which was in the city center, there were more white people. My teachers, some of my teachers, my math teacher was white, I remember that. But there wasn't a lot of white people in my surrounding. If I wanted to see white people, I would have to go downtown Philly. Usually when I see white people in the neighborhood, they're either the utility people, or the postman may be white, or police. Most police were white. So there was not a lot of mixing with black and white. Philadelphia is a very segregated city, believe it or not, as much as they've got white people, black people, Asian people, Italians. It's still segregated without physical borders. You just know that that's a black side, or that's a Puerto Rican side, or that's a white side, or that's an Italian side. So everybody has their side. I don't know if it's like that today, but the Philadelphia I knew was like that. Anyway, I'm not gonna keep my racial profile or mistreatment experiences in the United States of America, because I've traveled around the world and I've had racial profiling and or mistreatment in other countries. When I moved to the United Kingdom was pretty much similar to my experience in the United States. I went to Black UK, Black England. I went to Birmingham. And if you know Birmingham, black people dominate the city of Birmingham. So Birmingham, as a lot of black people, a lot of Asian people, whether they're from India, Pakistan, places like that, and there are white people. Again, it's like in the United States of America. You've got your black dominated areas, you've got your Asian dominated areas, and you've got your white areas. So I'm gonna list 3 experiences that I had in the UK that lean towards racial profiling and or mistreatment. So I guess I'll leave the most delightful one for last. So in the United Kingdom, believe it or not, maybe I don't know, maybe I was racially profiled by a white person and I didn't realize it, but my racial profile, oh yes, that is the one that I will leave for last. So I was racially profiled by a white person, but I was racially profiled in the UK twice that I can remember by Asians. In the UK, you will see a lot of Asian, those with the turban, a lot of them. So those are who I'm referring to. I remember once I went to get my car fixed at an Asian garage, and when I pulled up and I asked him if he's open for business, he said yes, and I told him what my problem was, and he pointed across the street where there was another garage, but it was black operated, black people, and he asked me, why don't I take my business across the street? I was gobsmacked, you know. I mean, I says to him, do you want to fix the car or don't you want to fix the car? Do you have a problem fixing the car? And he went, well, my workload is kind of heavy. But the minute he pointed me to the black-owned business across the street, I picked it up. I was being prejudiced against. He didn't want my business because I was black. He wanted me to take my business to the black people across the street. And I gladly did that. I gladly did that because actually I was referenced to take my car to him, but nobody told me that that was his view. So tell me if you think I'm wrong. I saw that as him being racist. I saw that as him being prejudiced towards me because of my color. My second experience with an Asian in Birmingham was I wanted to outsource some book printing, and not far from where my business office was, I found a number and I called it and I told him what I would want, and I told him that I'm not far away. I could actually walk around and give them an example of what exactly is it that I'm looking for them to outsource. And when I took the book, obviously, first thing he saw was me. I'm black, and you know, I'm driving a luxury car, and I gave him the book, and he looked at it, and he asked me, did you do this? And I said, yeah, I did this. I just need a couple thousand more, and I'm not able to independently produce it myself. And he said, he'll call me. And I got in my car and I left. A couple hours later, he called me and he says, unfortunately, you can't do it. That was before him saying he can take it on. I gave him the amount of pages, the volume, the paper quality, everything. I personally thought that I was racially profiled, and the Asians in Birmingham, Wednesbury in particular, this one was in Wednesbury, the first one was in Birmingham, Winson Green, the first one was in Winson Green, and this one was in Wednesbury. Okay, on to the more delightful one that I experienced in Birmingham, which was by a white person. It was racially profiling, but this guy probably didn't realize that. Maybe he did realize that he was racially profiling. When I lived in the United Kingdom, I owned and drove a luxury car. It was a Jaguar S-Type, to be precise. I drove a Jaguar S-Type. It was a fly car. It was a very expensive car, and it adds to what I would say my stature as a upcoming publisher at the time. My wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, we were just dating, had an interview to go to at Severn Trent on Coventry Road in Birmingham, and I told her, I'll take you to the interview. So I drove my luxury car to take her to the interview, and I parked up under a tree, and she went inside to the interview. So it was a hot day, and I decided to open the door, drop my seat back, and relax and just wait for her to come and tell me when she's ready to go. As a matter of fact, this is a picture of her on that particular day here. This is a picture of her on that exact day. Anyway, on to the story. While I was sitting there waiting for my wife to finish up with her interview, I saw a white guy walking across the parking lot and seemed like he was heading to his car, but he made a little turn and he headed towards me and he said to me, "You know that there is a chauffeur's lounge that you can go inside and sit. They have coffee, tea, and anything that you would like." And I says, "No, I didn't know that." And after he left, it hit me that I have to be a chauffeur to one of the executives in order to be driving this car. And I was gutted by it, because maybe he didn't mean any harm, because like I say, he didn't say anything mean. All he wanted to do is let me know that there was a more comfortable lounge inside where I could have refreshment and chill. But the simple fact that he couldn't conceive that I own this car and I didn't drive one of the executives here told me that I was racially profiled in that instance. So there you go. Racially profiled doesn't necessarily mean someone was being mean to you. His mind was just conditioned that black people, especially a young black man such as myself, could not own or drive a car such as a Jaguar S-Type. Let me know what you think of that one, people, because I took that one as him being racially profiling towards me. I did take it that way. And there was another time in England when my wife and I, we booked a junior suite at Hilton Parkway in London. And we booked a junior suite and we had some specific requests that we would like our junior suite to give us a view over by Hyde Park. And we did all that online. So you know when you're online, nobody knows if you're black or white. So we got confirmation email that the junior suite was booked, our view, everything, check. And we drove from Birmingham and we arrived at Hilton Parkway in London, my wife and I. And we walked up to the desk and we gave them a reservation. And there was a little stalling, but considering the fact that we've been to hotels before and they've stalled to check us in, it was no problem. And they gave us eventually they gave us the key and the room number and have a nice day. And we went up to the junior suite. It was a junior suite, but it was, in my opinion, the lowest ranking of a junior suite, because instead of our view to the Hyde Park, we were looking at an alleyway. And the only thing we could see other than the alleyway was the rooftop of the surrounding business around us. I went downstairs, dragged my wife with me, of course, and I made a big deal out of it. I made such a big deal out of it that I asked back for my money, because I believed that the room that I wanted was reserved. But the minute I showed up and they realized that I'm black, there was some changes in rooms. And I was assigned a room that nobody would, a blind man would be the only person that would accept that room because he can't see. I believe that that hotel room was given to me because I showed up black. Let me know if you think I was being too technical. Well, if you think I was being too technical, it's over and done with. It happened years ago, and my wife and I end up staying at the Radisson Blu at Marble Arch. Where else have I been racially profiled? I've been racially profiled here in Zurich, Switzerland. I remember once I was at the main station in Zurich. My wife worked at the main station at that time, and she would finish like 12 o'clock at night. And we didn't have a car then, so I used to journey down on the train and meet her so we could go back home together. And it's something that I did 3-4 times a week. Just wait for her. There is this area in the Bahnhof which has lockers, and across from the lockers there were seats, and I usually sit there all the time. And Zurich train station has a lot of cameras, and I'm sure if police were viewing those cameras, I'm a face that they would have seen more than once. Anyway, this one particular night, I was approached by 3 police officers, and they asked me if I have ID, but they spoke to me in German. I spoke back in German, and I says, I don't speak German so well. And one of the female officers says, do you speak French? Right? I took offense into that because the minute I don't speak German, I automatically have to speak French. Why? Because most black people are from Africa and most black people speak French. All right, that's not the part of me saying she was being racially profiling. The part that she was being racially profiled, in my opinion, I eventually says to her, I speak English, so let's have this conversation in English. While we were having a conversation and they were asking for ID and everything, I got relaxed and, you know, kind of put my hands near my pocket, and she was like, don't put your hands in your pocket. Don't put your hands in your pocket. It was as if she saw me with a gun. And her partner, the male, I must give props to him, the male was saying, easy, easy, relax yourself. He's showing us his ID, he's telling us where he lives, and he's telling us why we're here. So it was a mixture, because right before they left, the male police officer apologized to me. He says, sorry about that. But that female police officer, I don't know. Maybe she had some problem with a black man before. Maybe a black man broke her heart or left her. But I couldn't put my hands on my hip. And we were in a public space. Given it was late at night, there wasn't a lot of people there. But I just think she was treating me that way because I was black. I am black. Let me know what you think about that particular experience. Okay, just to spin it off a little bit, you know, take it off white people, take it off the Asians in England. Let me take it to some people who are more near my skin color. I went to Cancun, Mexico for a week's vacation. And while staying at Cancun, Mexico, a part of the arrangement was after 3 days in the suite that I booked, they would have to move me from that suite to another suite. And we agreed on that. And the move that I got was pretty much a mirror of the experience that I had in London at the Hilton. The room that this girl gave to me was, again, for a blind man, because nobody with seeing eyes would stay in that room. The view was just, it wasn't a rubbish view, it was a disgusting view. Coming out of the room, I would be looking at a dumped up lot that somebody intended to build a hotel on. And I got so furious and went to the front desk and made a big deal out of it. And her boss had to come out and apologize to me about it. And I was telling her boss that I believe she did that deliberately. The white people, she's sucking up to and smiling up to them. And when I go to check in and change my room, she acting like I used to be her boyfriend who broke up with her. And she had a sneer on her face, like she had a problem with me. She didn't know me. So it's not only white people that will racially profile us people. Black people will racially profile us. And in this particular case, I was racially profiled by a Mexican female. And last but not least, I have to give you my most recent racial profiling mistreatment experiences. And that happened this year. In February of this year, I went to Spain for a week. And while I was in Spain, I believe that I was racially mistreated. I approached a woman, a vendor, to buy a straw hat. And the woman just went off on me. Get out of her store. She don't want us to buy her. Don't take pictures of her product. Da, 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 da. At first, I didn't understand why the woman was actually so mad at me for taking pictures or wanting to buy something. But after the smoke cleared, I understood what she saw. At the time, I had a bag strapped over my shoulder, and that bag actually had beach towels and slippers and so on and so forth in it. And I believe that that woman saw my color that bag, and she thought that I was one of the vendors that was selling on the beach, maybe one of her competitors, I don't know. But either way, she didn't give me a chance to know what is it that I want and why was I at her stall. She went off. I guess the sad part that I see about it is she didn't think a black person could actually be on a vacation in Tenerife. That's a conclusion I have to come to, because one, I didn't see a lot of black people in vacation mode, but I did see some, but we were very few. So I just imagine that when she saw me, she did not see a tourist. She see black people, and she didn't want us, me and my wife that is, by her stall. And I see that as being racially mistreated, and we were racially profiled. Because like I say, even if I was indeed a Senegalese seller, there's other ways you could talk to me. Anyway, that's pretty much all my experiences I have. What I would like you guys to do, it doesn't matter how long your story may be, I would love to read some of your experiences if you have ever been racially profiled or believe that you have been racially profiled or mistreated, because the experiences that I just list, some people may say, nah, that was racially profiled, you're picking at straws and you're trying to create a ruckus where it's not necessary. Either way, all my experiences that I just mentioned, they're historic. So it's nothing that's affecting me presently now, but because of what's going on in the world, the tension, the racial imbalances, or hopefully it will be a racial balance soon, I decided that this was an appropriate topic to address and put it on my channel. So as you know, on my channel, people, I appreciate thumbs up and thumbs down, agreement and disagreement, because at the end of the day, each one teach one. Until next time, peace.